What's up, grinders? Welcome back to the channel. Now, I'm making a video today about Oriental Pearl. Oriental Pearl recently dropped a video which was actually about me. The video was titled, "Someone Made a List of Fake Polyglot YouTubers." Now, I haven't made this video, even though she dropped it like 2 days ago, because, well, I felt like the video was really good. There was nothing really that I needed to add or say. Now, there were some criticisms, maybe not even criticisms, like critiques of certain things that I've done within the video that are completely justified, and realistically, they're kind of like critiques and criticisms I have of myself and about the choices that I've made. So I felt the video was great, and I even left her a comment saying, I love the commentary. It was a really good video. But my audience have been asking me to, make a reaction to this, because when a YouTuber who has like 1.3 million subscribers, is an OG in the language learning polyglot friggin' YouTube space, makes a video about you, there's an expectation that you say something about that, even if it's just thanks. So I guess massive thanks for like covering this, Oriental Pearl, because like you are helping to spread, information, positive information here about, what I'm trying to achieve. Now, I do want to say one thing. Someone made a list of fake polyglot YouTubers. That was never really my intention. And I do want to stress what my intention is again, because it does get lost in the drama, and people do see the drama and they get lost in that. My intention is just to basically clean up this space and point out who's legitimate and who's not, okay? The problem is, at the moment, there are so many people who are not legitimate, or at least they don't live up to what they say they are. Because I don't judge people all the same. I judge them based on what they say they are. If someone made a video, and let's say I did a review of it, and they said I'm A1 in Chinese, and let's say I wanted for whatever reason to make a video about them, I would judge them based on their claim that they are A1. And if they lived up to that claim, I'm going to give them massive props, because they lived up to it. They're doing what they said that they're doing. But if they say that they're fluent and they're a teacher and a translator, extraordinaire type of thing, but realistically, like, they can barely speak the language, or they're like reading Google Translate, then I have to call that out. That's what I do. And that's why I get my community involved in this, because I can't do it by myself. I need lots of people. So I do want to just stress, for anyone who's still not aware, my goal is not just to call out people. It's just that seems to be the majority of content that I've encountered so far. But we are in the process, and we have been for over a week now, reviewing a guy who I can't say for sure right now, but he seems legitimate, like an actual legitimate hyper-polyglot. I'm actually really excited to make this video, but we had to be sure. So we actually lined up 5 interviews with the guy, with different speakers of different languages, okay, to actually test him and his abilities. And from what I've heard so far, he's done really well. So I am actually super excited that soon I should be able to release a legitimate, like a video about a legitimate hyperpolyglot, okay? Like I'm really excited about this, but I have to wait. I've checked the investigation files, I've heard from the interviewers, but I need to wait for all the interviews to finish. But so far, things are looking good, and I'm really excited about that. Okay, now, to get to the criticisms or critiques within this video, most of them are actually not from Oriental Pearl, but they're within the comments section. So the first one that Oriental Pearl brings up is about Walter, who's someone I've obviously reviewed on this channel. Now, Oriental Pearl said in her video, she wasn't really sure if I needed to actually review him, because he hasn't been active on YouTube in a while, which is a completely valid criticism. And it's in fact the reason why I did not make a video of him or about him for so long. Well, maybe not that long in the grand scheme of things, but since I started doing this process, I didn't make a video about him. I avoided him for quite a bit. And when people kept asking, and oh God, did they just keep asking in every single video comment section, even in unrelated videos, when's the video about Walter coming? I would always reply, and you can search my history for this, that he's not active. Like, why do I need to make a video about this guy? I'm trying to deal with the actual problems in the industry right now. But one day someone did react, and I tried looking for the comment, but I can't find it. But basically they said, yeah, he's not active, but his videos are still at the top of searches, which makes sense. So he's not making videos anymore, but his videos are still being promoted and pushed out by the algorithm. And he does make these claims about speaking so many different languages, and people wanted clarification about, what he is actually capable of doing. Now, obviously, there's a lot of haters of Walter out there who just want to see the guy get taken out. And I try to approach things in the most neutral way possible. Obviously, I'm a human. I have my biases and I swing different ways. And like, I try to point them out when I do have them. So when I started making the video on Walter, I tried to keep it like almost like a language analysis video, like what I did with Gabriel Polyglotta. I basically just looked at his language capabilities and then gave a realistic judgment on each of the languages based on my community's feedback. And that's what I intended to do with Walter at first. But then we didn't find the information about him previously having selling courses for languages he did not speak at any acceptable level. And that kind of swung things in the other direction. Now, the good thing is he got rid of that stuff, so it pulled it back, and it just kind of left things in this kind of like, shady, part, basically. So that's what I feel about Walter. I feel like he made mistakes, then he realized he made mistakes, probably was pointed out, and then he disappeared from YouTube, probably because of those mistakes. So I feel everything's done there. Like, it's done. And if he comes back and he just clarifies when he makes videos, I don't actually speak these languages to a high level. I'm doing this for the street interactions type of thing. I think that's fine. I got no issues with that. Which leads me into the second person, which was Kazoo Languages. Some people felt I went really hard on Kazoo, and some actually felt like I went way too soft. This is a common occurrence. People always feel like I either go one way or the other. But with Kazoo Languages, a lot of people were saying, oh, but in his video, he didn't cover off on what Kazoo said in the comments section, which obviously is clearly I can't, because Kazoo commented after the video was made. And let's have a look at his comment. Oh, before I look at his comment, maybe I should add some clarification. So in my video on Kazoo, overall, I was quite positive, but there was one point which basically impacted on the entire video, which was the fact that Kazoo released a book where he said, he'd mastered all these different languages, but the book was only in Japanese. And because of that, I had to judge a lot of his language capability compared to that book, because that is a claim. But I did also show that in other points, he did not claim mastery in other languages. So it was like, I had to make a comparison between two different claims type of thing. Anyway, Kazu responded and he said, I humbly accept everyone's opinions as I'm still far from being truly fluent in many aspects. However, I would like to clarify one thing. The word mastery and acquisition in the title and description of the book were not chosen by me. These were decisions made by the publisher, and while I did discuss the matter with them, changing it proved to be difficult, primarily due to the publisher's marketing strategy. And I said, I pinned your comment for others to see. I think the best move might be to talk to your publisher and say, this isn't a good look for me. And I felt like that was a fair comment. And lots of people were trying to rip into me by saying, you shouldn't have compared to the book because that's not his claim. Kazu's a nice guy and everything. I agree. Kazu seems like a great guy, like a nice guy overall. What I think realistically happened, and I've seen this happen because I've had friends who publish books before, is that you're a young guy, you're excited, you're making progress, because Kazu, he grew fast on YouTube type of thing. And then he's written his book, he's taken it to the publishers, and the publishers didn't like whatever the title was. And they suggested a better marketing title being here. Use the word mastery. Everyone loves a good master of something. Now, here's where things get kind of hard to say, because he could have said to the publisher, no, that's a bad look for me. That will make me look bad. But he is a young guy, and he was probably pressured, okay? He probably felt like if he didn't agree, then maybe the publisher would pull out or whatever. And I understand that. However, this is not a one-sided decision. He was definitely involved in this. He had a choice, because he didn't say he was contractually obligated to let them choose the title. He said it was primarily due to the publisher's marketing strategy, which means there was a choice for him to say, no, that's a bad look for me. So what I feel realistically happened is that he felt pressured and he accepted what the publisher said because, yeah, it's for the marketing strategy. And now he probably regrets it. And he probably regretted it after the fact, realistically. So I'm not going to hold this against him because he's a young guy, he's published his first book, and yeah, but at the same time, I do need to take it into account. So overall, I like Kazu. I enjoy his content. I find him to be funny, and I find his content to be really, wholesome overall. It's just that one thing gives him that little bad look, okay? That's pretty much my stance on the whole matter. Now, there's one last thing I want to talk about, which is not something I brought up, but it was what Oriental Pearl brought up, and it's what other people have asked me to bring up. So I'm going to look at my own comment. I've already had so many people ask me to review, I think it's pronounced Lao Shu, but this one I refuse to do as he's not here to defend himself. For those who don't know, Lao Shu, but he did what Walter used to do. I say did because unfortunately the guy has passed away. But he was like one of the first big polyglot YouTubers out there. Now, I'm not going to talk about him in any way at all on this channel beyond this one statement here, is that I will not make a video on the guy. And the reason is quite simple. It serves no purpose, okay? Because when I make my videos about, let's say, the people that I take down, okay? You can call them takedowns. When I make those videos, I try to leave them with outs and allow them to like fix their ways. Or I point out issues, okay, problems, and I hope that they can rectify them. Or if it's someone who did something really great, I give them props and stuff. But let's say somehow it went the bad direction with him. I don't know, because I haven't reviewed him, and I will not do it because I don't want to talk about it. But let's say it did in some way go in the bad direction where it would have to be a takedown video. He can't improve. He's not here. So what's the point? The only thing I would end up doing is hurting his family, who are still here. Like, that serves absolutely no purpose at all. It would be completely and utterly useless. So anyone who requests that I do a video on him, please stop. Because I feel personally it's disrespectful, okay? He's not here to defend himself. Now, of course, overall, highly recommend you go and watch her video. It was a great video. I loved her commentary. As I said, she brought up some good critiques, which I feel like I've responded to here, and I've given my thoughts on the matter. And it is a very tricky thing. I do get a lot of comments from people who say, you know, you go too hard or you go too soft. I'm more worried about the ones where I go too hard. And sometimes I make jokes and comments which, in retrospect, are probably not the best things to say. I'm learning as I do this, as I move forward. I like to make jokes to kind of keep the things interesting because after all, this is almost entertainment in some ways. But I do need to get better at the way I do jokes. And maybe what I will do in the future is when I make a video, I'll leave it for a few days and then I'll review it with a fresh brain and just think about it, you know, from the perspective of someone who's not me and see if those jokes are really like too crass in a way. Okay, that's pretty much my thoughts on the matter, and I'll see you all in the next video. And if you're not there, then expect an exposure video on your butt.